Hi everybody, welcome to the Art Workshop. I'm Christopher Epling. We really appreciate you tuning in today. Pike TV really strives to provide great content, educational, fun, entertaining, and we try to make the Art Workshop that for you as well. Today I thought we'd focus a little bit on graphite drawing, but before we get into actually today's episode, we had some really cool submissions to come in from viewers. So actual viewer created content, and we want to share a few of those with you today. So let's check out some of the amazing work that we had. Now I want to say before we show this to you that this is just a small segment. So if you submitted artwork and you don't see yours here on this particular episode, we're going to be sharing these as they came in. So keep watching and I promise yours will be shared eventually. So let's check out some of the great viewer created content. Amazing how much talent is right here in our area, and as you can see, there's tons of artists out there creating work, coming up with different types of methods of using medium with their work. So you saw everything there from pencil drawing, graphite, to watercolor, to colored pencil. So I'm just so happy to see viewers sending in artwork. That makes us so happy here on the Art Workshop and Pike TV. So keep doing that. Today I wanted to focus on graphite. Now graphite is a medium that everyone has access to some degree. If you think about it, pencils are pretty plentiful. You probably can go to your kitchen drawer or a drawer at a desk in your home and find some pencils laying around. So it's very accessible. The medium is so accessible, so it's something that I wanted to approach on. Now I do want to go ahead and preface today's episode that I'm going to be using a multitude of pencils, so not just one. But you at home can get the same effect that I'm doing here by how hard you press down. And we'll cover more about that in a little bit. But let's talk about different types of methods of using graphite, and I want to share with you some examples of that. Now, graphite drawing can be something as simple as line art. Line art is just simple lines, something that you actually just create the general shape of it. And we have some different examples to bring up on the screen to show you. So here we have an example of that line art. Now as you can see, there are some shading in there, but typically this type of work is just the general shapes and not a whole lot of blending and not a whole lot of shading. Now you can see some shading used in the hair and the eyes and lips, but for the most part, if you're doing work with pencil line art, it's going to be pretty clean. Now check out another example. This is on the opposite end of line art. This is super detailed work. This is pencil drawing. You can see that this is a tremendous amount of shading, a tremendous amount of value work. So that means from light to dark. You can see where actually, if you could imagine this dog sitting in the yard on a sunny day, you can see where the light reflects off of the skin. It's just, it's amazing. So there's a huge range of work and examples that you can look at with pencil drawing, and these are just a few. So we go in from this one to another example. This is a actual pencil drawing. This is photorealistic. So photorealistic means that the artist has come as close to a picture. And so if I wasn't to tell you that this is a pencil drawing and you were to check this out, you could probably almost be fooled to think this is actually a photograph, but it's not. This is a pencil drawing. And we can look at another example here and see the difference between a line art drawing, a little more complex with the previous dog. And then look at this. This is tremendous. This is a little bit of charcoal work, but this is graphite. How exactly the artist gets this type of look with each one of those frills of hair is by erasing. So the artist doesn't go in and actually, well, they do draw some of the hair, but mostly this is erasing from a layer of graphite putting down on the paper. We have another example of graphite drawing. Now this is something that I thought is just really helps to show just how close an artist can get to an actual photograph. So if I were to ask you at home to pick which side of this drawing, you can see the line down the middle. Which side is the photograph and which side is the pencil drawing? Which would you pick? Well, the answer is, and the truth is that the image on the left is the pencil drawing. So you can see that some artists can get so close to photorealism that it's almost impossible to tell. So as you can see, there's tons of different ways that graphite can be applied. Now, in today's episode, we're going to be combining a few of these methods that you see. We're not going to do a photorealistic drawing because that would take hours, and we only have a short amount of time here on the episode to work with you. So we're going to be combining a little bit of the cartoon line art with a little bit of realism to come up with a portrait type drawing using graphite. So you at home can participate just by grabbing a pencil, some paper, and an eraser, and you can follow along with me. If you draw today along with us and you'd like to share it with us, you could do that by sending it to me at eplingillustrations@gmail.com. So just copy down the email address you see on the screen, and you can send that right to me, and we will love to share what you've created today. So grab your pencil, get your paper ready, an eraser, and let's go ahead and jump in today's episode. Talking a little bit about graphite. Now, graphite is a medium that is very accessible, like we talked about. Now, as you can see, I have a few different pencils over here. I always like to talk about what tools I use because that's something I'm interested in. I'm interested in learning what artists use to create what they have and what they create. So I'm using a range of pencils. So if you were to take the pencil you have at home and you were to look at it really close, we've covered this before, but we'll do it again. You'll notice there's a number typically found on a pencil. These numbers usually are 2H. A lot of 2H pencils are used in schools, especially for testings. So if you do any testing, you're going to use 2H pencil. Now, these numbers and letters identify the value you're going to get by using each pencil. So what I mean is, if you use a pencil that is a 4B, B meaning darker value, as opposed to a 6H, the 4B is going to be darker. So there's a range, and it goes, just as you can imagine, across a scale from dark to light, the B reference being a darker value, the H reference being a lighter value. So 2H, 3H, 4H, 5H, the lighter you get, the further along the scale you go. And just the same with dark, 2B, 3B, 4B, 5B, the closer you go and the longer you go out that scale, the darker the tone is going to be, okay? So I'm starting out with the lightest pencil that I have. We're going to see how this kind of works. Hopefully you'll be able to see this. So follow along with me at home. So first thing I want you to do is go ahead and sketch on your paper. You're going to be sketching a egg shape, and this is generally how we're going to structure the head. Now, if you know anything about or have watched the show before, you know that I really like to use ovals, ovals and circles, and build up a drawing from the ground up. I like to use these shapes to help give us guidance on where we're going to be drawing. It doesn't have to be a perfect oval. Just get that shape down first, okay? The next thing we're going to be doing is we're going to be going inside of this shape now, and we're going to be playing around with where the proportions will be for our person. Now, if you're at home and let's say you would like to draw a family member or let's say a particular actor or some sort of celebrity that you, or anybody, yourself, this is a method that will really help you to get an idea of how to do that, okay? So inside of this shape, I've put a line. Now this line is going to separate one side of the face from the other. That helps us a great deal in determining where each part of the face will go. Now inside of this line, I like to make a couple lines to identify where the eyes will be. So about right here is where the eyes will go. The nose will be about right here. The mouth will be about right here, and then the chin below that. The ears typically are, the tips of the ears are in parallel with the tops of the eyes. So you can go ahead and put a couple of lines out here straight across or as close as you can from that initial mark. With these different types of guide marks that we have, we can actually go in now and start to put our drawing together. So follow along with me if you want. All right, on each side of this line here that we've created, we're going to actually start to draw inside there these small shapes here that's going to be the eyes. I like to make these look almost like footballs, okay? So we're going to draw 2 footballs on each side here of these lines that we've created, okay? That's all we're going to do for now. We're going to go back in a little bit and add a lot of detail into that, but that's all we need for right now. Now jump down to where you made the mark for the nose, and what I'm going to do is put a little bit of a stronger line there, and I'm going to come outside here on each side of the line and put 2 marks where the nostrils will be, right here on each side. Drop down a little bit further. We have the mouth here. Now this is going to be an old man, and we're going to be drawing an old man smiling. So all you're going to do is just put a real generic smile, just like that, just a line to make where the mouth will be later. We're going to be adding more detail to this as we go. Drop down a little bit further now, we're going to put the chin. So just make a little bit of a darker line down here, just like that. Drop below that, we're going to put a couple more lines. Now we can start building up from here. Come up to where you made the marks for the eyes, and come out to the ear, and you're going to draw the ear. Now the ear comes out from the face a little bit, it drops down and back in, just like that. So make the shape of an ear on this side. Do the same over here where your line is for this side. Try to end and start at the same place, okay? Now you can use this method for drawing whatever person you want. So let's say you want to draw dad or mom or grandpa or grandma. You can use this method. Now at the bottom of the ear, on each side, we're going to go ahead and make some more stronger lines coming down, all the way down, and we're going to go below the chin a little bit on each side, just like that, on each side of the face, coming down below this line that you made for the chin. Come back up to where the eyes are. You're going to put these lines coming up from outside of the eye. It's going to be actually forming the tops of the eyelids right here. See how this works? Comes up. Just follow the line that you made for the eye on each side. Draw back down to where the nose is. Okay, and what we're going to do here now, we're going to work on the nostrils. So on each side of this line that you first started out with, you're going to make these shapes coming up, going into the marks that we've created for the nostrils. And what you're going to do is actually work on this a little bit to actually fill it out more. So the lines come up, then you're putting them like little parentheses on each side here, just like that. The nose will actually be bent a little bit on this person. So you can actually make this shape coming up now, just like that, to where the eyes are. Back up to the eyes again. Starting from the right side of the football shape, bring this line coming in and going up into the line you created a minute ago. Do the same thing for each side over here as well, just like that, okay? Now, once you have these shapes drawn, you can go back now and start putting some detail in, such as the pupil. So inside of each football, go ahead now and you're going to draw a circle shape, but you're not going to see the entire circle. You're only going to see a portion. These are the pupils. So what we're seeing is a part of the pupils that we can see inside of the eye with the eyelids being there. Inside of those pupils, go ahead and put a small little circle and put an additional tiny circle on the outside of that. So we're going to fill this shape in a little bit, but as of right now, we're keeping it pretty much plain. Now going up, right with the little hash mark that you made for your eyes, you're going to put some glasses on this person. So use that line and put a parallel line running across the top from it, just above it. Now, go ahead and sketch out a pair of glasses. Now, these glasses are going to be pretty big, glasses that you typically see on a typical older gentleman. Large glasses, large frames. Be sure and keep your lines pretty much symmetric. What that means is, if I make my line going across the face here on the left side, I want it to be located in the same area on the right side. Another word for that is proportion. So proportional. At the top, we're doing the same thing here, bringing this line coming out from the parallel line on this side and out from the parallel line on the other side. Okay? Once you have the top lines to the frame of the glasses, you can go ahead and round it off now. And they're pretty big frames. That's okay. We want those to be pretty big. All right, we're going to leave those be for the time being. We're going to work more now, though, on the eyes. So coming inside on each side, in towards the nose, make these little lines come down. You're going to be adding some more because there are going to be some wrinkles here. So add some more of those lines. Now notice I'm just used the same pencil for all these shapes. I'm going to be using a darker tone here in a little bit to form all the different little tiny details that evolve in this character. So you at home, when I start doing that, just press down harder and you should get the same effect by pressing down harder on your paper, okay? Now, what I want you to do is come back up to top where the glasses are, and on each side of the frames, I want you to put this little tiny mark that kind of looks like a very box letter C, and then do that the same on the other side, but you're going, of course, the opposite way. What we can do with that shape is actually work on the frames a little more before we continue and add a little more detail. So now what you're doing is you're adding a parallel line running atop of the line at the top and the same for at the bottom. Draw that parallel line going all across the frames. Now the reason we're covering this today, and we're covering drawing people, primarily faces, using primarily pencil, is that, like we said, pencils are pretty accessible, and it's a really neat thing to draw family members. So if you were to maybe ask your grandparents, hey grandma, grandpa, can I draw you? I'm sure they'd be flattered by you wanting to, and then at the same time, they'd probably love to spend time with you too, right? Now, go back down into the ears, and what we're going to be doing here is actually filling the ears a little more. Now, I want you to do the same thing on each side. So starting at the top, make this line come down. Just looks like the top of a fish hook on each side. Okay, just like that. And we're coming down to this little shape that you see on every ear, right above the lobe. And we're going to put then at the bottom another little fish hook shape. Once we have that drawn, go back up inside of the ear, just put a line coming down. Now, this is what I meant, that we're doing something that is a little cartoonish, but at the same time it's close to being kind of photorealistic, but not. Let's work now on the head up here at the top. On each side of the face, what you're going to do is add a little bit of hair. So you're going to make these lines coming in towards the face, not out, but in towards the face. You're going to drop it down below the frames. Now we're seeing more of the side of the head on this side of, more of the head on this side of the face than we do on this side. So keep that in mind, okay? And we're going to put some more hair coming off the side of the head coming down. Notice where I stopped. I stopped right above these little shapes we made on each side of the frames. The reason I did that, I need to go ahead and draw the frame a little bit more going out behind the ear, just like that. Now notice, remember I said earlier we can't see as much from this side, so we're only going to put a small little shape right here, that's all. Once we have that, we're going to finish up by going up here at the top. Now this gentleman is balding some, so we're going to leave the hair off each side of the head here, going up to the top, and we're only going to see a little bit of hair up here at the top. So we're going to make these little hash marks right at the top of the head, okay? And you're going to do that all across the top of this giant oval that we've made to begin with, just at the top, just like that. Now once we have the lines up at the top of the head, we're going to drop down and work a little bit on the eyebrows. Now the eyebrows are really important here. The eyebrows help capture the essence of the person. Now, as you can see, we have the eyes drawn with this shape coming up. This shape right here that we initially drew for the eyelids will help to guide us with the eyebrows. So starting on each side of the face, right above the eye, I want you to put these little hash marks, just like that, okay? Once you have those hash marks, you're able now to go across following this line that you made for each eye, here and here. Go across and add these little tiny hash marks going all the way across. These are your eyebrows. You're following the line that you initially made for the top of the eye. We're not doing anything too drastically detailed. We're just trying to capture the essence of a face, someone's face, okay? Once you have that, drop down and let's add some more wrinkles coming out from the eyes on each side. A little few more wrinkles coming down. These wrinkles help to show age, of course, and we're going to continue with that in a little bit, adding more detail and more wrinkles around the face. But before we do, let's work on the mouth some. All we have is this sort of cartoon mouth, and that's okay, but let's put a little more detail into that. So what we're going to do is darken in the nostrils just a little bit by adding just a little bit of the graphite inside there. Then on each side of the face, come down with a line that's going to come right outside the mouth on each side. Now I'm going to use the darker pencils in a little bit to do shading. All of this work we're doing right now is just to lay the foundation. On each side of the mouth now, darkening in a little bit more as you go, you're going to drop a line coming just below there. So he's going to have his mouth open. He's going to be smiling with his mouth open. So we want this shape to come down and up, just like that. Once you have that, you can put a few more details of wrinkles in there. And you can do that on each side of the mouth. So we're going to put a line here, a line here. Drop back up to the top, and you're going to put a line coming down the side of his cheek right here. So we're adding more wrinkles here now, is what we're doing. Okay, once we have that, we can work a little bit more on the chin. So drop down, and the lines coming down that you used from the ears earlier, in combination with this line that we initially started out with the chin, we can add some more detail into the neck area. Notice I didn't connect these two lines here. If you have, you can erase. It's really easy to fix, but I'm going to put a few more lines coming down, just forming the neck. Now, right up to the edge of this line, I want to put two lines coming down, one here and one here. This is going to form the neckline, the close of our character. These two lines come down and they form almost looks like a V shape, V here, okay? But you're stopping, you're not connecting them. What we're going to do is we're actually going to come inside of these lines, and you're going to put a shape coming up and down on each side, just like that. Okay, like two little mountains, right? From there, what we're going to do, we're going to come back up to the top, and we're going to make a giant line circle going all the way around the bottom of our entire drawing so far, all the way around. This is a sweater, so these lines should connect to this line. Then you're going to draw a parallel line going all the way around the outside of the line we just created. It kind of looks like a donut shape right now. That's what we want. We want this shape to be almost like he's got a donut around the bottom of his neck. Now on each side of the shoulder, you're going to make a straight line coming out on each side, just like that. Okay, now we can add detail into our sweater by putting these little shapes all the way around. All the way around. Now as you get closer to up here at the neck, you're going to actually make these lines a little closer together. And this is something we've covered before, called perspective. The further away something is from you, the smaller it gets, right? So we have about everything we need now to start putting some real dark detail in with our darker pencils. All we've done so far is just laid the foundation for our character, okay? So now what I'm going to do is grab some darker pencils out, darker tones, and really start to pull in some detail. I'm going to start out with a B. This is actually in between our H and our B pencils. That really is, I need a little darker, I think, for the camera, so I'm going to pull a 3B out. This is pretty dark, but this is what we want. We're going to start putting shading in. I'm going to start with the eyes, actually. What I'm going to do is I'm going to, inside of that circle we've made for the pupil on each side, I'm going to actually darken this in, but remember those two little circles I asked you to make? Well, those you do not color in. We're just going to darken in around those two little circles. Go all around the bottom, just like this on each side. Notice I didn't fill in the entire pupil. I just worked around the circles. The reason for that, I want this portion of the pupil on this side to be a little lighter. So you can do that by barely pressing down, or if you have a set of pencils, this would be a good time maybe to pull out a maybe a B or a 2H. So now we have the pupils drawn in. Now we can really put some shadow in. I love when you get to the point where you can start to put detail into a drawing. That's my favorite part of a drawing. The foundation work is all important, because if you don't have it, you don't know where to draw. You don't know what to shade in. But once you actually do have your guidelines, the underdrawing that we stress so hard on here to always make sure you have and to fill in, once you have that, this is where you can put your shading. Now I'm basically going over top of the lines I've created right now. I've not started shading just yet. I just want to make all these lines a little bit darker so you can see what they are and where they are. And once I have that done, I can go in now and start to work on my shading. The mouth is open, no teeth are shown, so we're just going to make all this darkened in, just like that. Now on each side of the mouth, he has these lines that's coming down to form those wrinkles, so we make sure we have that. We have the chin, we have the neck coming down. I want to make sure I have all this nice and solid. So when I start to put the real deep shading in, we have this as our framework. Remember I said you can't see more of this side than this side, so over here I can actually put a line coming down to form a little bit more of the face. Now the ears are going to be a lot more darkened in than the other parts of the body. Of course, it's further away from you. And the hair, of course, up to the top of the head on each side with a little bit of hair up here. Not much, just a little bit. All right. Now, the eyebrows, of course, I'm going to make these little hashes again, just like I did. So I'm basically tracing over. I'm tracing my work right now. That's all I'm doing. Nothing major. Now, the frames of the glasses really need to be worked on first, because once you have these lines drawn in, you can actually go back in now behind the glasses, meaning actually in your drawing, and put in that shading that's really important to make this really stand out. Top on this side, down, around, just making sure we have all those lines covered. I'm going a little fast now, but you can trace over your work a little later. You can sort of follow along with me as we go, but if I get too far ahead of you, just try to remember we're just tracing over our lines. Now, we have these lines pretty much traced over as good as we can for the time limit with the show, but we're gonna try to cover this as well as we can. All right, now, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go back in now. This is where all the little details come into play. And I'm gonna start to put some shading in there. What I'm doing is I'm just turning my pencil over on its edge just a little bit, and I'm gonna actually be making a series of these hash marks, okay, just shading in areas of the face that's a little bit darker than others, right? So I know that the wrinkles are going to be darker. Inside the ears, of course, will be darker. We want to make sure we have that. You follow your lines. You're not actually doing anything that's outside of the framework of what you've already drawn. All you're doing is enhancing that, though, a little bit. So we want to make sure that we just stay within the parameters of the stuff we've already drawn for now. The bridge of that nose, remember that, so you don't want to draw or shade over top of that. And formulate all of these areas in a way that looks as if there's shadow or value being pulled out from the drawing, okay? Once you've done that, you can start to put even more detail. You could go over this and over this and over this to the point really where there's not much else you could do. We could spend literally the entire day working on this drawing if we really had the time, okay? But for the purpose of the show, though, I want you to just remember, you trace over, or not trace over, but you shadow and sketch over top of the areas that are going to appear darker. So you can imagine inside of the eyes here, it will be darker than other portions of the face. Around the edges of the face, even going up this way, we can imagine our light source coming in from this angle. So we want to make sure that we don't just shadow over the entire face, but we want to just shadow over the areas that are furthest away from our light source. And that's a big, big tip to remember when you're doing any sort of drawing, is you stay away from your light source when you're shadowing. So right around the lips now, we need this to be a little more detailed in. And all we're going to be doing is just doing the same effect over and over. Now, if you wanted to, if you had a set of pencils at home, you could go very gradually with this process from light to dark using your different tones. Very, very gradual. But like I said, for the purpose of the show, though, we want to cover this, so we're not going to do that. We're going to stick to just covering the basics so that you are equipped with the tools that you need to take this even further. And that's really the goal, is to equip you with some of the basic tools you need to really, really stand out and create your own work. Our real goal on this show is not to show you that I can draw. The real goal of this show is to not just doodle different things out. It's for us to give you the tools that you need to start to build your own type of style and to start to draw the things that you want to draw, whether that's people or different landscapes or cartoons, or maybe it's painting, maybe it's using different mediums for paint such as watercolor or acrylic or oil. We're going to be covering these things in the art workshop so that you're equipped. And that's what we'd love to really see your work. So again, if you follow along with me at home and you've sketched out some of this stuff for this old man today and you'd like to share that, we'd love to see it. You send that in to the email address on the screen, eplingillustrations@gmail.com, and I will promise you that we would love to proudly show your work here on the show. So we can keep working this over and over and over using different pencils. So going from, that's a 3B, so we could drop down even to, let's say, a B again, and this will give us a little lighter tone. So as you can see now, this is really can pull out the drawing, and inside the glasses, of course, the light reflecting there, so we'd see a little bit of that at the top, a little bit of that over here at the top. So you can see how these lighter tones really can blend well with one another. And this isn't a photorealistic drawing, but you can use these same methods to create a photorealistic drawing. But like I said, you do a really gradual, not rushing anything, and what you'd have at the end is something that you could really show and be proud of. I really hope you've enjoyed today's episode. Oh yeah, always sign your work. It's something I need to start stressing to everybody a little bit more. Put your name at the bottom of your work always. And I don't know what we could name this character, but maybe we could call him Carl. Carl's a good name for this, I think. Now, if there's anybody out there that looks like this and your name's Carl, I promise this wasn't planned ahead of it. I can assure you that was not the case. Or maybe it was, I'm not going to say. But anyway, we have our old man Carl, and he looks pretty happy. I wish we could all feel that happy every day, right? Wouldn't that be fun? That'd be great. Carl's definitely feeling happy. He's just happy to be here, happy to be drawn, happy to be on the art workshop. And you know what? I am too. So thank you so much for tuning in today. Until next time, I'm Christopher Epling, and just please remember to send your work in. That's a big, big, big incentive for us to show your work, because you are the true asset of this show. You, the viewer. We mean that wholeheartedly. We care about the public, we care about you as an artist, and we want to see your work. So thank you so much again Pike TV really appreciates you. I appreciate you. Until next time, I'm Christopher Epling. And Carl, if you're out there, I promise this wasn't planned ahead. Until next time, keep drawing.